Go ahead and I'm going to share my screen, and what I'm going to do this morning is just kind of walk through Workforce One. This will, I believe, be your first time using our case management website. So we'll kind of introduce you to what we have. So let me share my screen. Let me move you guys over. Okay, so I don't know if you already have the website, but I'll share the link to the website as well. But I'm going to show you everything today and what is our testing site. So it mimics the live version, but it has fake participant information. So we're keeping everything secure. So this is what it looks like when you first get to the website. Up in the upper right-hand corner, there will be a spot for you to sign in using a username or password. So you should have received an email with your username and a temporary password. The first time you log in, Workforce One is going to prompt you to change your password right away. If at any time you forget your username or password, there's a little link right here that says forgot username or password. When you click on it, there will be a link, forgot your username or forgot your password. If you forgot your password, you'll enter in your username and it'll let you reset your password without having to contact a security administrator. But if you ever have any issues logging in, you can always reach out to myself or Sherry and we can get you set up. And if you have any questions as I'm going along, just pause me, go ahead and jump in, ask the question.
Okay, I don't remember receiving a username or password, just so you know.
Okay.
You think we did?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. We'll check close again.
No worries.
It's your first initial and your last name. Nancy, it's your first initial and your last name.
Okay.
Okay, so for the purposes of today, I'm going to log in and I'm going to pretend I'm Paul Partner. I'm going to log into the system. And you're going to notice I'm logged in and I'm working for an agency called Advanced Opportunities. So when I log in, the very first page I'm going to get to is what we call our dashboard. So the dashboard is going to show all of the participants that you've been added to the case assignment for. So for example, when I'm logging in as Paul, I have 4 participants on my dashboard. Whenever you want to get more information about the participant, all you need to do is click on their name over here in the left-hand column. Part of the reason why we're transitioning to having our providers in Workforce One is we share a lot of sensitive information about participants. So if we make a referral to your agency, we were filling out a form and we were sending you supporting documentation, and all of that just has a lot of sensitive information that's out in our email. So getting you directly into Workforce One eliminates having that sensitive information in our email boxes, in your email boxes, just keeping everything more secure. So for every participant, the VR staff will have to add you to those records as a staff assigned. Once they do that, then you will see those participants on your dashboard. So for today, I'm going to work with Chandler Bing. So if I want to get into his record, I would click on his name, and now it brings me into his record. The very first page that it brings you to, we call at a glance, but it's just the basic demographic information for that person. So you'll see their name, address, phone number, email. So all of the ways that you could kind of get in touch with that participant if you needed to. Then on the left, we call this our left navigation. Essentially, this is how you move through the person's record in Workforce One. So the first thing I want to talk about is the referral form. Usually that's our first point of contact with you as a provider, is we complete a referral in Workforce One, and in the past, we had just emailed it to you. Now you're going to get a notification saying a referral has been completed in Workforce One. On your left navigation, you would click referral form. And then you're going to see this referral form summary. With Workforce One, with navigating, you're never going to use your back buttons or your home button. You're always going to navigate within the system. So if I want to look at this referral, I'm going to click on this blue link. Usually if something's blue, it means you can click into it. I'm going to click on that blue link, and here is that referral form. So what we typically would have sent you in an email, the information is here. You'll notice at the top we have 2 buttons, open a PDF version or back to the form. So if I click open PDF, it's just going to open a nicer version for you to print if you wanted to print it out. And then when I'm done looking at this, I just click the little X because it's opening the document in a new tab in my whatever web surfing app, if you're using Chrome or Google, Firefox, whatever, Internet Explorer. So that's where you're going to find the referral form. Now, sometimes with referral forms, we send additional supporting documentation. So that is going to live in what we call EDS, or electronic document storage. So every piece of paper that our VR staff get, they scan it and they upload it to the record. So if I click on this link that says document summary, this is where the documents that the VR staff have indicated could be viewed by another agency. You're going to see these here. So for example, this medical doc, if with a referral, they might have sent you some supporting medical documentation or maybe an IEP or an evaluation summary from a school, this is where the information is going to live. So I have 2 options when I'm on the document summary. If I want to look at something, I can click on this little blue link that says the document name, or I can click on the PDF icon. Either way, it's going to open the document. And you'll notice here on this left-hand side, we have the ability to name our document. So staff can type in a unique, we call it a user-defined document name, but really it gives the user more information about what that document actually is. So if we had medical records from 3 different providers, we could indicate these are the medical records maybe from Mayo versus Health Partners versus Allina. So if I click on the PDF, it is going to open a document, and there you would read the document that was uploaded, the medical or the IEP, whatever it might be. Then when you're done, again, you just click the little X, and you're back at your document summary. Any questions so far?
No, it seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it really is a pretty intuitive system to work in. So, you know, you kind of just navigate using that left nav, and then we have some buttons throughout the pages that kind of help you with that information. The next piece that I want to talk about are the authorizations. So that would be another document that typically we would have created the authorization and then sent it to you via email. Again, on the left navigation, you're going to notice this link that says authorization. For all of our providers, they're assigned a unique vendor ID number. So when we set you up in the system, we set up your agency with that same unique vendor ID number. So the system knows Nancy and David work for YesWorks, so they can only see documents for YesWorks. So when our staff create an authorization, they have to put in a unique vendor ID number. So for example, I work for this demonstration for Advanced Opportunities. So when I click on authorization, I'm seeing just those authorizations that were created for Advanced Opportunities. Again, on the left-hand side, you're going to notice the little link with the authorization number. So if I want more information, for example, job shadowing, that's an hourly service. So if I want to know, well, how many hours did they approve or authorize? I'll click in And again, at the top, I have this open PDF, kind of opens it in a little nicer version. So if I open it, it was a job shadow. It was for 10 hours at that rate, what's on your contract. So whatever your hourly rate is for that service. And then it'll show you the service start date and the service end date. So those should look familiar to you. So instead of us sending that via an email, you would just go right into the record and look at that authorization through Workforce One. Okay, so once you've received, the referral, the authorization, you've provided the service, the next step would be submitting the invoice and the report. So typically you would create your invoice and your report and you would email it to our shared mailbox. Now you're going to add those documents right to Workforce One. So first you would probably add the report. So again, on the left navigation under EDS, Electronic Document Storage, there's this button that says Add Document. So when I click on that, it's going to bring up a new window. And one of the things that I'll share with you after this meeting is we have a little desk aid created for our staff for how they name documents. I got to get it up here. So when they add documents to the system, we assign every document with a document type and a document name. So we created this desk aid. How our staff use it is they kind of look in this middle column for what type of document they're adding to the system. And then that'll tell them the document type, because you'll notice when I clicked that add document, the first thing it wants me to do is assign the document type. So if I go back to this desk aid, sorry, here's my document type on the far left-hand side. So for example, if you were uploading a report, that would be the document type vendor provider reports. So when I go back to Workforce One for my document type, here it is, vendor provider reports. Then you would select your file from wherever you saved it on your computer. So we'll say, here's my report. Click next. And then the system knows that Paul from Advanced Opportunities is the one uploading this document. For the document name, again, you're going to have a couple of different options based on the type of report that you're uploading. So, for example, for a job shadow, I would probably choose this one, other report from CRP, LUV, or other provider. But you'll notice we have specific titles if you're uploading a PBA milestone report, your monthly progress report. If you're providing pre-ETS services, we have a special document name for pre-ETS reports. So you'll kind of just go with whatever type of document you're adding. So for this one, if the service was a job shadow, I'm going to say that's an other report from a CRP, LUV, or other provider. And then we're going to put in this user-defined document name. I usually tell staff, every report that you're uploading is going with an authorization. So we created an authorization for that service. So we would ask that you populate, that authorization number, and then you could put, the name of your company, and maybe it was for a job shadow for October 2021. So that's kind of the naming convention, the authorization number, the provider, the service, and dates if you can get that in there. And then you'll click upload. So now when I go back to my document summary, the very top document is that report that I just added. Okay?
Yep. Okay.
Okay. So that's how you'll upload those reports. So the VR staff, then what happens is the VR staff get a notification. We call our notifications in Workforce One ticklers. Kind of a funny name for that type of thing, but it's essentially a reminder or a notice. So what happens if I click on Tickler, you're going to see here on November 1st, it's letting me know that a document was added by another agency. So the VR staff are going to get a notification right away whenever you add something to the document summary or when you add an invoice. And I'll show what that looks like next. These same types of notifications are being worked on to notify you as a provider. So when an authorization is created or when a referral is completed, we're working on getting you the same type of notification. Okay. Any questions? I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you.
No, I mean, it's a lot of stuff that we're already doing, so.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So now that I have my report added, so I added my report, now I want to add the invoice. So to do that, I'm going to go back to that authorization. And on the right-hand side, in this action column, you're going to notice this button that says New Pay. So for example, if I was ready to invoice for these job shadowing hours, I would click New Pay. And the first thing that it asks you to do is add a document. So this is where you're going to add the invoice that you created for VR. So again, we have to assign it a document type. So when I go back to my little desk aid, under financial bills expenses, this is where we have a document name of invoice and supporting documents. So for my document type, I'm going to select financial bills expenses. So I go back here, there it is, financial bills expenses, select my invoice. Again, it knows that Paul from Advanced Opportunities is adding the document. I'm going to say it's an invoice. And again, I would put that authorization number. So the authorization number, the name of your company, the service that was provided, and the dates. I'm going to upload. So now on this payment screen, my invoice is right at the top. I always encourage staff, take a second peek at what you've added to make sure it's the right document. So I'm going to click this little PDF. And there it is. It's my invoice. It's for a job shadow, 2 hours. Looks good. Now, if this wasn't the invoice for the job shadow, then you have a couple of options. You could click replace and you could go out and find the right invoice. Or if something happened and you're like, you know what, I'm not even in the right person, or I'm not ready to invoice for this yet, you could click delete and it'll go away. Okay. So then you're going to come down the page and we're going to have you put in the invoice number and the invoice date. And those are going to come right from the document that you created. So I'm just going to make it up for today, but you would put in the real information here. And then however much you're invoicing. So if it was 2 hours, $150. And then down at the bottom, you're going to see the Save as Pending button. I'm going to click that. And now when I look here, this is that authorization I was working on. If I click on this authorization number and I scroll down, now it shows that there's a pending payment for $150. And then what happens is our VR staff, they get another little notification. An invoice has been uploaded by the partner agency. So then that will notify the VR staff to review the invoice, review the report, and get those approved for payment. Just trying to make sure I'm not missing anything here. How are we feeling so far? Is this making sense?
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we get it.
Good. Okay, so then the last thing I want to go over is the case assignment. So again, using my left navigation, I'm going to click on case assignment. And VR staff are adding you or David to the case assignment as a secondary staff. So for example, this file, Paul is assigned. But if I knew that Paul was going to be out for a month, I could transfer that case to another person that works with advanced opportunities. So you'll notice on this action column, I have this button that says transfer. So I can select my agency that I work for, and then I have, these are the staff that I could transfer it to, Jane Johnson or Jane Partner. So internally, you, Nancy and David, can work on transferring cases. If Nancy wants to be assigned to certain ones or David wants to be assigned, you can kind of work that out. If you want to transfer them between each other, you are able to do that independently. You can do that on your own. Once you're assigned to a record, you can transfer them back and forth to each other. So for example, if I selected Jane Partner, save, now the case is assigned to Jane. So now it will show up on her dashboard when she logs into the system.
Okay, so you can only have one secondary staff assigned?
No, we can add multiple secondary staff. So,
okay.
You know, my understanding is that David and yourself are the only ones that are going to be assigned. So we could add both of you to every record if you wanted us to. Or once one of you was assigned, you could transfer it to the other, depending on how you want to manage that work.
It's just that, like, when you log in, if you're looking for something that's under me, you won't see it. And vice versa.
Oh, gotcha.
I will have to think about that.
Yeah. So, but the option is there. We could have, you know, we could just communicate to the VRS staff that Nancy and David get added to every record, or you could tell us only assign Nancy or only assign David, or however you want to work that out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you'll run into that probably with bigger agencies too, where you have a billing clerk, for example. Yep. Or you have, a certain clerical person who uploads reports, but not necessarily created by the staff person assigned.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
So that's the case assignment. You'll notice the other option that you have is to end an assignment. So if you knew that you were no longer working with this participant, you no longer needed access to their record, you can end your own case assignment. So you would click end. When you do that, that person is no longer going to show up on your dashboard.
Okay.
Okay. So that is Workforce One. So essentially, when you log in, you'll have your dashboard. You'll get some ticklers once we get those all kind of built into the system. So you'll want to check that out. So on your dashboard, it'll tell you about ticklers or those reminders. So when I click on the button, it'll tell me, like, this one is showing up because I transferred those records. So we have a tickler set up to let staff know when cases are transferred. So from your dashboard, you'll see your ticklers, and then you'll see the records. So if you want to get into the record again, you just click on their name, and then you'll just use this left navigation to get that information that you're needing.
Okay. All right. All right. That was good.
We like to hear that. So I think our VR staff are going to start working on getting you added to records for the case assignment. So we'll have you get logged into Workforce One, make sure that process works. And then once we get you assigned to some records, then you'll want to start looking for the documents in Workforce One, start uploading your invoices and reports that way.
Okay. Yeah, we'll be doing monthly progress reports here soon, so we'll get to test it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear right away how it goes. And if you run into any questions, any of us are available to refresh your memory on how to get it in there. Because again, you were given a lot of information today.
Yeah, but it seems pretty intuitive,
It is.
you know. I'm sure once you start using it, you go, oh yeah, what? I think using, naming the user defined document name, that, that's a little more specific, but that's doable. I get why you need to have consistency.
For sure. Yeah. And I think like Laura mentioned, we'll get you out a desk aid that kind of gives you the best practice for how to name it. And I know when I worked in the field office, I referred to that all the time because I couldn't remember for every single document, so that's a very handy tool to have. So,
okay. Yeah.
I had one quick curious question, and it is simply a curious question, because from a contracting standpoint, you're in charge of your own data security and that type of thing. But because you have kind of that unique situation where you and David will be the only two that are looking at Workforce One and working in Workforce One, if you have someone else going to work with an individual, how do you typically share your referral information with them? Do you just kind of case it with them, or how do you do that? Staff it?
Yeah. Well, we also have used email. We use Zoho Docs for our email. It's a little more secure than some of the other ones, so we use that as our platform. And it's kind of like a Gmail where you can share documents within that system.
Okay.
And so we will share documents that way as well.
Okay. Yeah, no, that came up as a curious question from leadership when we were talking about just the overall process. Because again, like I said, from a contracting standpoint, you attest that you're maintaining your own data security. So it's not really something for oversight. It was more just, we were genuinely curious, like, how does that work within your agency? So that's good information to have, because we may run into, other partners where they'll have a similar setup and perhaps they're not sure, what's the best way forward. So
my guess is there's a lot of email going around.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. But, typically like within an agency, like if I send something within the state, it's, more protected and encrypted than if I'm sending it outside. So,
yes, our email is encrypted too.
Okay. Excellent. Well, that's good to know.
We also only share what's pertinent, like we have an administrative person.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't share like medical with most anybody. So it's piecemeal to a degree also.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first level of security we feel.
Absolutely.
On what you need, and that's about it.
Absolutely. Do you have any other questions for us today, or thoughts, or?
Is there a browser that works better than other browsers, or does it not matter?
We do have issues with Internet Explorer sometimes. So either Chrome, Google Chrome probably works the best. What's the other one?
The Edge?
Edge works fine too. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I use Firefox, and I know you mentioned that earlier. So.
Yep, we are set up on Firefox. We don't get, we don't have Apple equipment, so, but.
Nope, that's Safari, I think. Apple is Safari.
Yep,
Firefox is Windows.
Yeah, Firefox should work too. So let us know if you have trouble otherwise.
Okay. All right, so available for immediate use, I take.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
As soon as we have that username, username.
Yep, I know Heather was adding you to some records. So yeah, I just sent you your